everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Untraditional Industries here on R by You, where we tell the untraditional stories of people involved in somewhat traditional industries. So thanks so much for joining us. Thanks, Caitlin, for co-hosting this with me. And we have a awesome guest here in sunny South Florida. And you might know him from his YouTube channel, but it's Steve Invests. Thanks so much, Steve, for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me on.
Yeah, so I mean, you're involved in real estate investing in the real estate industry. You know, that's a huge thing. It's been around forever. So could you just give us a little bit of background on yourself, how you got involved in it, how you got involved on the YouTube channel, everything? Just yeah.
Yeah, sure. I'm originally from New Jersey, as we were discussing earlier, and decided I wanted to get out of the cold weather, moved to Florida, came out here to get my bachelor's degree, went to college at Florida Gulf Coast University. I knew I wasn't going to work for anybody, but thought it'd be good to have regardless. And sophomore year of college, got my real estate license. And then a handful of years later, in 2006, my sister and I opened up our own real estate brokerage named Maxim Realtors, which we still own to this day. We actually sold 80% of the company, and been real estate investing, buying and flipping properties, buying rental properties as well. And since we sold the company, I have a lot more time on my hands. So that's why I decided to start the YouTube channel, Steve Invests, to kind of give back on my experiences and what I've been through, and try to help educate other people for, passive income and financial freedom.
Awesome. And I know, real estate is one of those things that's such a broad market, and it seems like a lot of people are kind of getting into it these days. I guess for you, is there a specific area of that business that your business specifically tries to solve or fills a gap in that market?
I mean, we've done it all. And, going through the last real estate recession, 2008, we had to pivot with our business. It was really unbelievable how many real estate agents, as well as entire brokerages, went out of business at that time. So we had to pivot. We went after, during that time, REO properties, short sales, BPOs, broker price opinions, as well as property management, to ensure success and ensure that we didn't close our doors. And instead of, just getting by or closing our doors, we really thrived in that market. And, time will tell if we'll go back into a market like that, but that's part of Steve Invest too, educating real estate agents on that aspect of the real estate industry, because, a lot of newer agents that haven't been in the business that long, I've never, they've only experienced this kind of market. And, it's important that they're educated on all aspects of a flat market as well as declining market.
Yeah, I think that's so important. A lot of people, it's great when you're kind of riding that wave, but I think kind of giving people some advice on, weathering that storm and what it takes to really, bring your business through that, super valuable for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's easy right now for real estate agents, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's good to know that it's not always going to be that way. So
No.
That's awesome. So, I mean, you started this. It seems like you knew right away you wanted to run your own thing, not work for somebody else. You said that earlier. So, I mean, there's always risks involved, starting your own business and going off on your own. So, I mean, what were those risks? Did you realize they were even there? Did you care? Like, I guess, what was that like?
I don't know. I've always been of the mindset that, if I fail, it's because of me, and I think it goes back to even sports. I did, track. I also wrestled. So even though it's a team sport, you're kind of, it lays on you in terms of either success or failure. And I didn't mind that kind of position at all. And, when we were under another real estate brokerage, you were restricted on what you could do. And I just didn't like that. I don't like, I like my freedom. Let's just put it that way. And that's ultimately, which led me to where I'm at today in terms of a financial freedom position as well. So to me, it's always been about freedom for myself. And, starting up the brokerage, Yeah, we went through some tough times. It was absolutely difficult, but with risk, there's reward for sure. And if you have the guts to stick it out, I mean, you can be a success. And again, it led to, selling majority share of our company in 2018, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, so, I mean, did you have anything else? Like, I mean, how old were you when you started?
Probably 21, I guess, when I got my real
Okay.
estate license, 22, somewhere around there. And then 3 years later, so around 25, I started our real estate brokerage, my sister and I.
Awesome. And then,
Yeah.
so it's just kind of like, did you have anything else that was like, if this doesn't work, I'm screwed? Like, I don't know if you had like a family at the time or a house already, like bills to pay, or was it just like, you know, because you were so young, it's just like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
was already buying real estate at that time. And if you guys follow Tony Robbins at all, I mean, I went to a couple of his events, and they're pretty badass. And one line that stuck with me is, if you want to take the island, burn the boats. So there really is no plan B. And I always like side hustles and other ways of making revenue, but failure just it wasn't an option. And when you kind of adopt that kind of mindset, then there is no plan B. There's no turning back.
All right. That's a good
Yeah,
outlet.
and I love that way that you kind of, talk about really taking ownership and, it's on you if you fail and it's on you if you succeed. And I think that's kind of a really powerful thing to embody as a business owner. But I guess for you, starting so young, I mean, 21 years old, when you think of a lot of 21-year-olds, that's not necessarily the first thing on their agenda is, taking on this risk and starting responsibility like that. I guess for you, like, would you have advice for somebody who's kind of young, they're trying to get their feet wet into, real estate or any version of investing, and they don't necessarily know where to start?
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of to back up a little bit, I think having a job and having an employer is more risky than being in business for yourself. And
Hmm.
it could be, you know what I mean? Because you don't have control. And for one thing, I recommend anybody that does have a job, like, don't quit your job, but start working on something else that you do have a level of passion for, and see how you could monetize that passion. Because if we're seeing it right now, a lot of people are getting laid off with the pandemic right now, and it's extremely unfortunate. And they don't have a plan B. They didn't anticipate their employer laying them off, and some just have one set of skills. So my advice for anybody that's watching this is, build your skill set. Build your skill set in multiple different ways, because if shit hits the fan, and it will in your lifetime, there's no doubt about it, things are going to go wrong and they're going to go bad. And if you anticipate that, then you're going to be in way better shape to pivot, and you'll pivot quickly. Back when I was saying in terms of the 2008 crash, there's so many real estate agents going out of business, and my sister and I, it was just us and our company. And without trying, we were recruiting agents into our organization. They were actually coming to us because they knew we were listing REO properties, we were listing short sales, and we didn't know anything about it, but we studied it, we got proper training, and we went after it. So I think that people need to have backup plans if they are currently employed. And then it's just a matter of, failure is fine. If you fail, you're going to fail. Everybody's going to fail. And if you're not failing, then you're doing something wrong. Like, you're not going out and you're not testing boundaries. So I recommend people fail forward fast, meaning have the failure, learn from it, rebound, and keep moving forward as quickly as possible. The problem is, a lot of people fail. Even our school systems are designed, if you have an F, that's bad, right? And I was a crap student because I just didn't necessarily pay attention, didn't necessarily have a ton of respect for certain professors or teachers. And and the F that you receive, or a D or a C or whatever, that means you've done bad. And I think people need to rethink failure in terms of, what did you learn from it? And if you change your mindset a little bit, what did you learn from that failure? You're going to get way further faster.
Yeah, that makes, I agree with that 110%. That's how I learn, and just failing, trying again. Going off of failure, how would you define success for yourself, your YouTube channel, your business? What does that look like to you? Is it different depending on each of them?
I think one big thing was, I don't know, maybe it was like 8-10 years ago, when I finally had no mortgage on my property. It created that stressless behavior, I guess. I didn't have, I had no debt, so I didn't have to, do a certain sale or whatever the case is in order to stay alive and survive. So that, that helped tremendously. And then, coming into YouTube, it's like, this is a whole different world for me. And, it's I mean, as you guys know, the online potential, for making money and anything else that you want to do, there's so much opportunity out there. And, YouTube is brand new. But I spent the money. I went to Vid Summit in Los Angeles. I hired Daryl Eves in a group coaching session, and I kind of reinvented my educational process, because I didn't know anything about YouTube, but I wanted to grow the channel. And it's astonishing how much, even right now, how much money that's making with online courses I have and other stuff within, just over a year's time.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and this question's a little off the cuff, but I sense by so many of the things that you've said that it seems like you really value in investing in yourself, and investing in things that are going to level you up. And I think for a lot of people, and this kind of goes back to what you said about school, but a lot of people think that leveling up, school is maybe that only option. I guess what would you say for people who are kind of considering the path of school, or considering a path to better themselves in other way, like seminars and things like that?
No, I appreciate that. It's a great question, because my girlfriend, she's got two young kids, the 10 and 11. I have niece and nephew, so I'm always in front of them. I think college is good for certain people. I think college, if you're going to become like a doctor, veterinarian, an attorney, or whatever, those are things that you have to get your degree for. If you're kind of lost out there and you don't know what you're doing, I wouldn't be quick to especially take on debt. I think that's, I don't know, I can go on and on about that in itself. So I'd say be very cautious about taking on debt. Don't take debt to go to school if you can. I see, we've recruited and trained real estate agents over the years. And when I sit down with them, I go through their personal finances. And it's astonishing how many people would have student debt and they're just crushed by it. And what did it get them? And I'd say 90%, 9 out of 10 people I talk to, they're not using their degree. So 40, 50, $100,000 was just wasted for what? Now, I went to Vid Summit for a weekend. I spent, let's call it with hotel, food, and everything else, flight, 25, $3,000 for everything. And I made that money back literally within the first handful of months of being monetized on YouTube. So, I think that there's a lot of, if you want to get in real estate and real estate investing, there's a lot of free courses out there. There's a ton of information out on YouTube as well. It's free. So we're in an age right now where we have so much information at our fingertips, but it takes people, in their hearts and their heads to have that drive to really internalize it and be consistent with educating themselves and then implementing what they've been educated on.
Yeah, I think technology in a way, it's one of those things, it's almost like a blessing and a curse. You know, you have all this amazing information that you can access at your fingertips for free out there. But of course, you know, it comes with the world of distractions that it brings, and it's almost like information overload sometimes. But yeah, I mean, I completely agree with everything that you said there. I thought that was a great point and great advice for somebody who's kind of confused and on that cusp in that point of their life.
I
Well,
mean,
and
oh,
you're
go ahead.
right, Caitlin. You know, it becomes analysis paralysis. You know, people. You know, I have people that comment on my channel, and they've taken multiple courses, and I literally, I'm like, stop taking the courses. Like, you know, specialize in that one. You know, and get good at it, crush it, make money on it, and then go to the next. And I think that's what's with some people. You know, they just they go after the next thing, next thing, next thing, and then they don't do shit. You know,
Yeah,
so
yeah, absolutely.
implementation is the big key.
So with the, information, just kind of touching on that information piece, great. Everything's available now. You can find anything you want online. Um, what advice would you give someone that's like looking to get into real estate to find the right? Because I feel like there's a lot of real estate information online. Exactly like you said, there is a lot of real estate information online. Good. I'm sure there's also bad information. How would somebody trying to get into that like tell the difference between the two?
For one thing, I think it depends on their appetite. They have to figure out what they would want to invest in, because it's not one size fits all. You know, there's so many different types of real estate investing out there. And then the strategy to acquire it as well as unload it. It really depends on that person and what they're trying to go after. So meaning like if somebody's looking to buy and flip single family homes, that's going to be completely different than somebody that's looking to maybe wholesale and assign real estate contracts and not ever take ownership of the property. And that's going to be different from somebody that's looking to buy real estate and rent it out. And then you have different types of rentals. You got annual rentals, and then you got vacation rentals, you know? So I think it really depends on what, and then you got commercial real estate, and then there's all different types of commercial real estate, you know? So I think people have to maybe get a taste of everything and meet with real estate agents, have them show them the properties and the potential in terms of cash flow or flipping a property or whatever the case is, and get educated going out and actually looking at real estate, and not just sit behind a computer and watch YouTube videos about it, but get out there and start put boots on the ground, even if you don't have money. I mean, if you find the right deal, you'll be able to find the money if you're doing the right things. So I think it's just boots on the ground and getting out there.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think, you know, when I think of somebody who's kind of new to investing or new to real estate, that's kind of like a big objection I think a lot of people probably have is, you know, I don't have the capital to get into this. I guess, is there a place that you would recommend someone like that starting, in terms of, you know, I think gathering that resource or gathering that information is a great start, but kind of, is there a realm that you'd say maybe jump in here or another place?
You know, if you're just starting out in real estate, one thing that I personally did that got me to where I'm at today, I kept flipping my primary residence. So every 2 years, if it's your primary residence and you have a gain and you sell it after a 2-year period, that gain is free and clear. You pay zero taxes on it. So I've been able to go up and up. Even this condo now, with this has been my last flip, and I'm on the beach with this strategy of buying and flipping my primary residence. So people can get in with FHA with 3.5% down. They can have sellers contribute to their closing costs. So if they buy $100,000 property, 3.5 points down is $3,500. If they can save that up, but buy, excuse my language, but buy a shithole, buy something that you can fix up and make money on, live there while you're fixing it up. 2 years comes around the corner and you flip that property for 150,000 after closing costs. Let's say you have 40 grand. Again, that 40 grand is going to be free and clear money. So that's a good strategy. It's one strategy anyway. And you don't need a whole lot of money. Somebody might be able to have a friend or a family member, lend them $3,500 and they can even pay that back with interest. So they can get into maybe a property with 100% financing.
You mentioned it earlier, the failures and how they're important to you, and like that helps you learn, and you almost view failure as success in a certain way. But what are some mistakes that you've made along the way, or do you have one particular mistake maybe that, or failure even, that like stands out as something that you learned a lot from?
With real estate or women?
Either or.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, I've had a lot. I mean, when the market crashed, I was heavily leveraged on a condo that I literally lost $150,000 on. I bought a vacant land property acreage in North Florida, and we lost about 100 grand on because the market shifted. I had other rentals that were leveraged too much, and they were upside down when the market shifted. Rents, we were getting 1,500, and then all of a sudden we were getting 1,100, and then we were upside down by $300 a month. So those are real estate related. Some areas where I learned a lot. And even in this market that we're in right now, I think the writing's on the wall. I think the market's extremely high right now. I think, we have artificially low interest rates, which is keeping the market where it's at. But, and there's certain things that I wouldn't be buying. And I slowed down on buying right now because actually I sold a lot of stuff because I think the market's really high. So that's, in terms of a failure position, I'm like, know when to buy, know when to sell. And right now, I mean, I sold pretty much, I have 3 assets right now. That's it. So I sold pretty much everything that I had because I'm going to just sit on the sidelines and then utilize that cash to jump back in when the market turns.
Yeah, and I know that you actually recently did a video on kind of your predictions on, how that housing bubble does seem to be there, and that, potentially that's going to push out to 2021 with so many people moving to work from home and potentially wanting to upgrade their housing situation. It sounds like you focus a little more on the, residential side, but I guess for you, do you have any predictions on what might happen to commercial real estate going forward with, so many people transitioning to work from home?
Yeah. And thank you for watching the video. Real estate is micro in nature. So it's really going to depend on where you're at in the country or even the world. So I think there's no blanket answer for that. Obviously, with COVID hitting, there's a lot of companies that are seeing office space and seeing that they don't necessarily need it. So they're backing out of that. And even in Southwest Florida, there's starting to become a larger inventory of vacant office spaces available for rent, which it's simple supply and demand. If a big supply comes of office space for rent, it's going to drive prices down. And then you got the investor that said maybe he owns an office building and he was projected to make, $200,000 a year on everybody paying. And because there's a bigger supply, he's got to cut his rates, and now he's making $110,000 a year, losing $90,000 from the previous years. And now he might be upside down, and he might have to let that property go, or so it can be a vicious cycle for that. And again, commercial real estate is, mobile home parks, for example, that's considered commercial real estate. I used to sell mobile home parks. And that investment is thriving right now because it's a way for people to rent property or lot rent at a very inexpensive price. And there's a lot of people that they lost jobs or whatever the case is, so they're moving into mobile home communities, and that type of commercial real estate is thriving and doing really well. So it just depends the type of commercial real estate as well as where you're at.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, there's a lot of people, I think, that you mentioned trying to get into this space. It seems like it's a hot topic that a lot of people are always like interested in doing. And I don't think people really want to take that jump, or they're scared to. But what's one piece of advice that you'd give to somebody kind of like trying to get involved in this real estate investing space or into real estate in general? Like, what's the biggest takeaway someone can have from this?
The numbers. Make sure the numbers work, whether it's buying and flipping. If you're buying and flipping, make sure that you have a good idea of what the construction cost is going to be, as well as the ARV, after repair value, in terms of the anticipated what you could sell the property for. Because if that's off and you're not, you spend too much money in the reno, or you're not getting as high of a price for the property when you sell it, then you might lose money. So, buying and flipping, you got to pay attention to that. And then for rentals, right now, I think the rental market in South Florida is really high. So anything that I'm doing to, when I run my own numbers, obviously I'm looking at income and expenses. And if a property right now is rented for, $2,000 a month, I'm hedging that a little bit. I'm being conservative. Even though it's renting for $2,000, I'm running it maybe on $1,700 a month, and make sure that I hit my numbers. So you gotta, and that's just based on the failures that I was talking about, where I've seen the market go from, the rental market go from X to X. And so that's why I'm way more conservative in my analysis of the numbers. So you got to know your numbers. If you don't, then you're screwed.
Yeah, for sure. Caitlin, did you have another question?
Yeah, this is actually going to be my last question. And, I think what's so common, especially in the world of like YouTube and online marketing, you see industries like real estate get presented as like this sexy, like get rich overnight thing. And I think that that's possible to a degree, but also I think there's, the side that people don't look at. And you've talked about a lot of, the struggles that you've had over the years and, changes in the market. We had found you, of course, from your TCPA video. And I know you also recently did a video talking about, issues with like insurance, things like that. I guess for you, would you say for somebody kind of, getting their feet wet into this, is there kind of like a legal side that they should be aware of or look into to kind of keep themselves safe and know what's going on?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're a real estate, if you're going to invest in real estate, definitely sit down and talk to a real estate attorney. You're going to want to incorporate, so you kind of have a legal barrier as well. So there's definitely a lot of legalities. If you're an investor and you're renting property, make sure you're up to date on all the fair housing laws, because let me just put it this way. There's law firms out of Miami right now that are suing because landlords are denying tenants with criminal backgrounds. Let me repeat that. They're suing the landlords because the landlord denied the tenant because of criminal backgrounds. And that's a thing going on right now. So you really need to get educated on, the law on fair housing and everything else. Anything that you're going to do, you're putting yourself out there. And if you become a success, you have more of a bullseye on your head for people to sue you. So absolutely talk to an attorney with whatever type of real estate you're going to get into, whether it's an investor or even as a real estate agent. It's important to make sure that legally you're protecting yourself as good as possible. And if you have assets, obviously you want to protect those as well, and make sure that they're appropriately accounted for, whether they're in trusts or LLCs and so forth.
All right. Thanks so much, Steve. I appreciate you taking the time to give everybody a crash course here on real estate investing. Give us a little bit of your story, how you got involved in it. So I appreciate you taking the time to do that. But
no doubt. I appreciate you guys taking your time for this as well. And, if you guys want to do it again or talk about specific subjects as well, I'm more than happy to.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks so much. For anyone watching, again, you can get in touch with Steve, check out some of his contact. Steve Invests on YouTube. Caitlin, thank you so much for hosting this with me, and see you all next week.